So, I have a question for you to answer right as we get started into today's podcast episode. I want you to ask yourself, are you somebody who is more left brain dominant or right brain dominant? I have a list right here in case you're wondering what the heck that means. I also think this is a theory, by the way. I don't think this is cold hard facts, but I think this is just a theory on which side of the brain is more dominant. But the left side is supposedly more analytical, orderly, linear, logical, very logical thinking, good with numbers. And then the right side of the brain is more imaginative, creative, emotional, and likes more of like the music and art side of things. Again, this is just a theory, but a lot of people talk about the left and the right side of the brain. And it got me thinking that I think that when you run a business, specifically a handmade business, it can be kind of challenging because if you find yourself being more dominant on one side or the other, and I would actually argue that if you are somebody who got started with your candle business as a hobby first, that you would probably fall into the more right brain dominant. Or if you are somebody who has been looking to start a business and you thought it'd be really cool if you did a candle business, you may possibly be more left brain dominant. And that's just because you can kind of look at it like the more detailed marketing side of the business is more of that left brain, because you do have to be a little bit more logical, analytical, a little bit more orderly with what you're doing, versus when you are actually creating your product because it's a handmade item, that is something that is definitely more right brain dominant. So this is the topic at hand that I thought would be really, really interesting to talk about, because I think that it's something that we all can relate to in one way or the other. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of the Candle Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Marie Morris, and as always, so excited that you are listening and or watching today's podcast episode. If you are somebody who is watching this and you are wanting to start a candle business, you're just getting into it, maybe you're a little curious, like, is this something that I actually want to do? I do have a free gift for you. It is a download. If you haven't downloaded it already, it is a candle business launch checklist, and you can go to ericamariemorris.com/checklist. I will also pop it up right here if you're watching on YouTube, and that will sign you up to my email list and then also give you the checklist sent right to your email. And I try my best. Being a mom now, it's more of like a maybe once or twice a month email that I send out to my email subscriber list. But I try to send out helpful pieces of advice, things that I'm working on, things that I've learned along the way, because I am in no way wanting to end my sharing of this journey of this candle business. I'm almost at 4 years in business. So in 2 months, on March 30th, it'll be 4 years in business. And I'm still learning so much along the way and trying new things. So I definitely have no part of me wanting to stop anytime soon of sharing. So I will continue to share as much as I can with you. And I really hope that it helps you out if you are somebody who is wanting to get started in a candle business and you kind of need a little help to know what you should be looking for before you actually launch your candle business. So getting into today's topic of the right versus the left side of the brain, I think that what can be very challenging about this aspect of things, and I think that sometimes people who are getting started with the business don't realize that this is going to be a challenging part, and it's something I didn't realize, because even though I was already trying to get more into the businessy side of things, in terms of wanting to seek out a business venture that was going to work, hence, or I should emphasize the going to work, because I tried so many different businesses that failed, that I just wasn't passionate about until I found candle making. And it's because I was able to really express and utilize the creative side of my brain and be able to really utilize the right side of the brain. And I had tried so many businesses where I was just using the left side and it just didn't feel right to me. I was just trying to be too cookie cutter into what everybody else was doing and just trying to just focus on the money and chase the money and not really go with like a passion that I was passionate about. So when I found candle making, it just helped me merge the two together, and it helped make the more businessy, logical numbers aspect of everything more attainable, because when I found such a passion for candle making, it really pushed me to want to learn more about the business side. Because if you are somebody who is also like me, who's a little bit more right brain dominant, and maybe your first thing that you got really excited about was the packaging of your candle. What is it going to look like? How, what is the label going to look like? Maybe you like to design the label, or maybe you got really into wanting somebody to create your logo for you. Maybe you picked out a very specific kind of jar or vessel that you're wanting to work with, and you focused a lot on the visuals. Maybe you're thinking about the visuals of your Instagram, the visuals of your website, the more creative aspect of the business side when it comes to running a candle business. Maybe those are the first things you're thinking about. Or on the flip side, maybe you started thinking about how many candles you need to sell at X amount of profit to make X amount a month. And you're thinking about the numbers, and you're thinking more logically, and you're thinking about how you're going to be able to attain that, but not so much with the candle making. Maybe you're just kind of putting that on the back burner and thinking about, I'll be able to make a candle. I need to figure out how I'm going to sell the candle before I make the candle. And there's honestly nothing wrong with either side. So if you find yourself relating to either one of those, there's nothing wrong with either one of them. But what can be very challenging is being able to merge them together and find yourself thinking about both sides. Find yourself being more creative and knowing that you are creating a safe candle that is aesthetically pleasing and also has a very good scent throw. Those are kind of my three categories to hit. So a safe candle and a pleasant aesthetic that you're looking for, whatever the aesthetic that you're looking for. And then also to have a good hot throw in the candle, so a good performing candle. So you need to make sure that you are hitting those, but also that you are creating a candle that, is unique and is going to be able to connect to you and the story behind your brand. And then also you need to make sure that you have at least a little bit of a path that on how you're going to sell your candle. Because I think what can happen, what the negative sides of being too extreme on one side or the other, is that if you are, let's say, more right-brained and you're more creative, that you really dive so much into the creative aspect of it, and you're just wanting to make a bunch of candles, and you're wanting to, design the candle and really focus on that. But then when, let's say, you go to sell your product, you create an Etsy shop, you put, some pictures up, and you just kind of wait around for the candle to sell because you didn't take the time to look into the actual business side of it, which is going to sell your candle. And you can use a lot of the creativity and the creative mindset to take that over into the left side of the brain and use a lot of your creativity and kind of emotional connection that you can put out with your product to be able to sell your product. So I'm very much into storytelling as a way to market. It's very natural. I think, I don't want to use the term easy, but it's very authentic and natural, I think, to other types of more rigid marketing that maybe more left brain people would be more into, like the numbers and, running a marketing campaign and then looking at the numbers and seeing what you need to do different. And again, there's nothing wrong with either side of that. But I think what's interesting is that a lot of times you are able to connect the two together. And ideally, that is what you want to do, because I think that is what is going to generate the most success in business for you. So when it comes to utilizing the creative side, you can utilize that to sell your candle. Just like with storytelling, just like with creating reels, or, TikToks or whatever, that is a more creative side that you do have to tap into when you are running your business and when you're wanting to be able to generate more sales and have more people find you, more people follow you on Instagram. Like, there's a lot of those type of things that you do need to focus on when it comes to selling your candles. But you can't always just rely on the creative side. You do have to understand, human behavior and dive a little bit more into the psychology of buying, because that's really kind of what marketing is like the human behavior and psychology behind why people choose to purchase things and what entices people to purchase things. And I think it's something that if you are more of the right-brained, you have to kind of learn how to understand a little bit more of that analytical side of things, because you have to make sure that you are also setting your business up to be as successful as possible. So when that's, let's say learning SEO, learning search engine optimization, so that you are optimizing your listings. And what I mean by optimizing, because I would always hear people talk about this, optimize your listings with SEO. It basically just means title your stuff what people would search for on Google. So like if you are selling scented coconut wax candles, you'd want to make sure that you are adding scented coconut wax candles, possibly your title of your product, the descriptions, other places on your website. You just basically want to make sure that you are utilizing all of the keywords all over your website or your Etsy shop or wherever it is. I want to start doing that instead of just being like, optimize your listings with SEO. Like, when you're getting started with business, you're probably thinking, I have no idea what that means. So I need to start doing what I wish that more people would do in videos that I used to watch when I was learning, and explain a little bit more about what the heck that means, because again, I wouldn't know what that meant. It basically just means title your stuff things that you think that people would, whatever you think that people would type in to find your product, that's what you want to use in your titles and your descriptions, and be as descriptive as possible. Don't just put, small candle as the title. That's not going to get anywhere. Or lavender small candle, small lavender candle. That's not really going to be enough to get people to find your listings. So again, that is definitely a little bit more of that left side of the brain coming out when I'm thinking about that, because I know that the creative side is just like, but I created this product and, people should just want to get it. I want to sell this, but I'm so focused on the creative side that I don't actually know how I'm going to be selling the candle. Versus if you are more dominant on the left side, you're thinking about, okay, I know how I want to sell this candle, or I know how I want to, market this, and I know how to set everything up, and I'm getting, the proper SEO keywords in there. I'm going to be tracking Google Analytics and knowing the kind of customer that's going to want to purchase my candles. But then maybe you're not as focused or not as knowledgeable about the kind of visuals of the candle that customers actually want. So you need to be able to create a product that is going to be visually appealing and something that people are going to want to purchase, and not something that is just kind of thrown together because you want to make money in a candle business. But if you are somebody who is more left brain dominant, maybe you are somebody who is more detail oriented, maybe you're good at problem solving, and those skills are very, very important when it comes to being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. There are many obstacles that are going to come along the way, so many problems that you're going to need to solve. And that can be very challenging for the creative, for the person who's more right brain dominated, because when there's problems that need to be solved, when you need to be focused on certain specific details like inventory management, understanding shipping, just details that need to come into play that could possibly be a detriment to your business. So for instance, if you are not keeping track of your inventory management, and you are constantly selling products that you don't have in stock, and let's say you don't have the oil in stock, you need to cancel the order, or you need to try to quickly get the oil, and then your customer service can possibly go down. The experience of your customer can possibly be a negative one, and you may have to, do other things to make up for it. There's so many little things that could happen that if you were a little bit more detail oriented and you were really good at solving the problem right away, those skills would really, really help you in that moment. And sometimes that can be really hard for somebody who's more right brain dominated. And I think that is something that can be a very big positive about being left brain dominated, is that there are going to be a lot of obstacles that come up. How do you get a seller's permit? Where do you get a seller's permit? Do you need a business license? What about business insurance? How do taxes work? All these things that are not creative, but you're going to have to figure it out because it's a part of the business. It's a part of running the business and selling your product. That is where I really struggled and had to learn a lot. I definitely learned a lot, when it came to actually making the candles, because of course you're learning a lot with that. But funny enough, when it comes to candle making, there is a lot of science and math involved, and I know that can be a struggle for a lot of us. So already kind of hidden inside of the very creative side of the candle business is already a little bit of like that logical math and science analytical hidden in there, with the left brain kind of hiding in there. So that's really interesting, because there's already, when you're getting started with learning candle making, you already kind of have to get over those little mini obstacles that can kind of be maybe out of your comfort zone, because I know they were definitely out of my comfort zone. And I remember sitting at our dining room table, and for, I think it was like a couple hours, and I just remember trying to just figure out why the candle math that I was doing, it wasn't really adding up, and I was just trying to understand all of it, and I finally understood it. I finally taught myself and understood it. I think Chris understood it before I did, and he was trying to explain it to me, and I just wasn't getting it. It just was not clicking in my head, and now, funny enough, I try to teach it to everybody else, because I know how challenging the candle math formula was, and how I just didn't understand how it worked at first. And now I really love tapping into the left side of my brain when it comes to my business, and really understanding the taxes and really understanding the math formulas. As difficult as it has been in the beginning, I've learned and I've grown so much on that side, and really taught myself that side, because my creative side is able to come out in so many different ways. When I'm storytelling, when I'm creating Instagram posts and reels, and filming YouTube videos, designing labels for my products, and taking product photography. There's so much of the creative side that I really, really enjoy, and that's become a lot more natural for me, that spending time and having to figure out more of the numbers and analytical side of the left side of the brain was something that has always been challenging for me, but I really, really have tried my best to figure it out. And that's why I know that if you're out there and you are more on one side or the other, you are able to do your best to tap into that other side. Or you can outsource anything that you feel in your heart is either causing you too much stress, too much anxiety, or you just know that you're not going to be good at doing whatever such and such part of your business. If you know deep down, there's no way that I'm going to invest or spend the time to do product photography, then make sure that you outsource that. Make sure that you are very realistic with yourself, and you're able to sit down and audit yourself, audit your skills. I promise you. And you'll get better along the way of auditing yourself. I audit myself all the time. Like, can I do this? Am I good at this? Am I better to outsource this to somebody else? Because I, for the longest time, have been like, no, I'm going to do everything. I can do everything. And now, being a mom, I'm like, nope, I need help. I can't do everything. Please help me. So I would recommend outsourcing to if you, for instance, using the example of the product photography, go onto a local Facebook marketplace, Facebook group that's local to you, and just ask and see if there's anybody that does product photography. You're going to save money on shipping, and you're going to help out another local person in your area, and you're able to just probably drive the candles over to them. That's actually been something that I've been wanting to look into, even though I'm pretty good at product photography now. I want a little bit more variety in my photos, and I only pretty much take photos kind of the same way every time. So even though I've gotten pretty good at it, I'm kind of like in this limited mindset when it comes to product photography. So I really want to outsource and see if I'm able to get some more variety in my photos. And then on the flip side of that, if you're somebody who is like, for instance, I don't like submitting and doing all of my sales tax information. It's something that you can absolutely do yourself, but I pay my CPA to do that for me because it saves me the headache of trying to figure it out. I also do that when it comes to my S corporation management. There's just different things, minutes and different things that you have to do for your corporation. And that is something that I could probably do it myself, but little things like that, I'm like, I will pay to kind of have somebody else do that side of thing. And those are the only examples that I can think about in the moment, but there's plenty of different examples, plenty of different things that you can think of that have to do with your business that, even social media marketing management. There's so many different companies that can manage your social media for you. And yes, you are going to pay for it, but you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of these different areas of your business and see if it's something that's worth it for you to spend the money on and not have that as an extra task that you need to do in your business, because it's definitely something that, it can take up a lot of time. You have to think about time versus money. That is something else that kind of you have to weigh a lot when it comes to business. But I think I am going to end today's podcast episode right here. I really, really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to give this a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, or if you could rate the podcast, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you are watching this right now. If you could just take a moment and just rate the podcast if you are enjoying these episodes. I am going to be trying my best to bring more podcast episodes. I think I went the entire year of 2023 without doing a podcast, but in my defense, I got pregnant right away at the beginning of 2023, and then my whole motivation at the beginning of the year in the first trimester was just down under the ground. I had zero motivation to do anything business related. So that kind of fell through with the whole podcast, because there's a little bit more setup when it comes to the podcast, just a little bit. But with that, I am going to end today's episode right here, and I will see you in the next one.